As every soldier and knight worries about the hostages and the possibility of there being another spy in school, Cid patiently waits for Sherry to figure out the operation of the artifact. After hours of hard work, Sherry finally succeeds in operating the artifact correctly. Now all she needs to do is get near the Eye of Avarice and remove the magic seal. Sherry is determined to save her father, so she uses the tunnel behind the bookshelf in his office to head to the auditorium. Before leaving, Sherry recalls how her mother was brutally murdered by an unknown person, and the man she now calls her father was a friend of her mother, so he decided to take Sherry to stay with him. He loved her like a real father and always supported her, so she was not going to lose a parent once again. Cid tells Sherry to go ahead since his little help is done here. In the auditorium, Rose worries that there is no chance they can fight against these terrorists with the magic seal on. A sudden gunshot scares everyone as the enemies start to randomly shoot students for their amusement. Even though terrorized by the gunshot sounds and the situation, Sherry finally finds a good place from where she spots the Eye of Avarice in the hands of the armored man. She throws the artifact, and as they had deduced, it manages to control the eye and remove the magic seal. Rose notices the change right on time and attacks some of the opponents. On her cue of the seal being removed, everyone charges at the enemies, creating a war-like situation in a school auditorium. The armored man walks towards the artifact after ordering his people to kill the students. Rose fights hard, wanting to reach the armored man before she runs out of energy, but opponents keep coming in her way. She thinks of wanting to keep fighting while carrying on the legacy of Cid's love and sacrifice for her. Her thought process is interrupted by the glass on the ceiling of the auditorium breaking, giving a grand entrance to none other than our very own Shadow. Shadow smirks at Rose, praising her fight, but now it is their job to continue. With this, the whole auditorium is surrounded out of nowhere by the Shadow Garden, who announce them being Shadow Garden in sync, which makes them seem more like a cult than the cult they are chasing. As the Shadow Garden takes over the fight, Rose reluctantly focuses on getting the students to safety, so asks everyone to evacuate the premises with the injured ones. The decision turns out to be pretty good, as a few moments later, the whole school is on fire due to the messing around with gas pipelines by the armored man. It turns out to be the doing of the armored man, while Sherry, who is looking around for her father, is also confused and trapped. As the fire strikes the whole school, the knights are worried about the students, only to find them all safe and outside already. Rose informs Iris about some Shadow Garden getting rid of all the terrorists. As they discuss who exactly Shadow Garden could be, Alpha is informed about the necessary articles being retrieved already. Sherry looks around for her father while the armored man is in her office, burning down some books and articles until Cid asks what his principal Lutheran is doing in that costume. He is surprised that Cid found out it was him and asks what gave it away, but Cid never explains the logic behind his figuring it out. Cid focuses on asking why he did it all, since he doesn't seem like the person for evil. Lutheran explains that after he reached the peak of his era as a swordsman, his disease interrupted him from progressing further. Upon looking for cures, he found out about the artifact that can help him cure the disease, the artifact upon which Sherry's mother was working. He went along with her pretty well, and things were going fine until she told him that the Eye of Avarice was too dangerous for use and its work should not be revealed to anyone. Lutheran wanted the device to himself, so he stabbed her heart and twisted the knife, brutally murdering her. Since Sherry was unaware, he did that, so basically, he was only with Sherry because he wanted to use her. Cid tells her he isn't much bothered about what happens to people, but he is going to fight him nevertheless. After the chit-chat, Cid faces Lutheran, who tells him it was a nice chat before taking a millisecond to cut the chest of Cid and throw him out of the window. Lutheran turns to walk away, only to be stopped by the voice of none other than Shadow. Lutheran decides to use the artifact, combined with the device, to exhibit its true power. The device is placed in his chest, granting him more powers than he originally had. While bragging about being more powerful and not showing any mercy, he attacks Shadow only for him to defend himself. In the next attack, Shadow dodges him and wounds his shoulder without him even realizing that. He mocks Lutheran for calling himself powerful if that is all he can do. Lutheran tries to fight back, sure that Shadow can never be as powerful. He also mentions making things look like Shadow Garden is to be blamed for all the situations that have been occurring, making them look like traitors. Shadow reminds him this is not at all what he cares about. If he wanted to be considered a hero, he'd have that done, but he doesn't care about what is thought about Shadow Garden. He just wants to stick to his agenda of fighting from the shadows while being neither entirely good nor entirely evil. He then ends it all by killing Lutheran the same way he killed Sherry's mother. As Shadow is walking away, Sherry stands there traumatized to have witnessed the murder of her parents yet again. As she cries to his body, Shadow decides it is better she does not know the reality about Lutheran. Alpha and the rest of the members are amazed by Shadow's not caring about being blamed and decide they should also work for what their jobs are. In school, Sherry meets Cid thanking him for his help and support and informing him about going to study abroad since she doesn't have any reason left to stay here. She also mentions having some secret aims for her future. The two parts of this note. Due to the damage to the school, the summer break students started a little early, but having nothing to do, Cid decided to stay in the empty dorms. He didn't have much to do there either, except for avoiding Alexia by sticking to the ceiling every time she visited. His boredom ends when he receives a letter from Alpha talking about a visit to the sacred land, Lindworm, to dig out some ancient memories. The Shadow Garden is invested in working hard for their Lord Shadow and everything related to him. They seem to be deeply infatuated by Shadow for saving their previously doomed life and giving them new hope. Shadow walks up to a tunnel where a guy who seems to be the villain starts exaggeratedly narrating his features, praising his personality, his physical appearance, his dress, and his aura, as if writing about his crush instead of his enemy. Shadow appears there with his signature line and how he is apologetic for being late to save his beautiful young elf, Beta. He's about to speak further, but words get stuck in his throat until a hand slams on the paper that has the writing of this scene on it. The scenario did not just feel unrealistic. It was just a fiction from Beta's mind. She seems to have been writing a fan fiction based on her and Shadow. The next day, Beta and Epsilon get into banter about who Shadow notices more between them, while everyone else ignores them, as if it is something usual that occurs. Nu intervenes between the two about receiving a directive from Alpha. Alexia and Iris visit the most popular shopping place in the capital. They have everything that is on trend, and Alexia seems to like it around while Iris reminds her she is going to the sacred land as a special guest for the goddess's trial. Alexia tries out different hats while thinking of getting some secrets about corruption and missing orphans out from the higher-ups while she chats there. Iris wonders if she should have told Alexia about the investigation or not. Gamma appears there, introducing herself as Luna, the president of this establishment. While enjoying the food she served them, Alexia tells Gamma to send it to her dorm. Iris reminds her they are there to prepare for her trip, which makes Gamma ask if she is traveling. Alexia tells her she will be going to Sacred Land, which is interesting information for Gamma. After the school was out of danger, Rose rushed to where the injured students were being treated. After searching around, she was relieved to see Cid alive, wrapped around in bandages like a mummy. Cid looked at her and closed his eyes, saying he was dead as if he knew what was coming for him. Rose walks up to him, glad that he is alive, reasoning it is a miracle due to his love and sacrifice. She tells him that since she gave her life back to her, she will be giving her heart to him. As poetic as this sounds, Cid was nowhere near that with his intentions. That being said, the background character is now stuck dating yet another princess. Rose and Cid travel together to the sacred land in an elite cubicle on the train. While Rose sits there hugging Cid and talking about destiny, choosing him for her, Cid sits beside her with the blankest face possible. She tells him that they'll reach each other in 2 days, so they should relax. Cid, who just wants some space, thinks of how he could just sprint and reach the land in no time. But he chose to use the economy class train to maintain his background character aura. That was a mistake since Rose found him at the station and practically forced him to travel with her. Rose holds his hand and starts her rant about their relationship and the future of it, while Cid tries to free his hand thinking about why Alpha summoned him there. The most popular religion here is that of divine teachings, where people worship the goddess Beatrix. Rose rants that if he succeeds in the goddess's trial, then she can speak to her father about his bravery and have a future with him. Cid seems not to care about any of that, well aware that Rose is conveniently trying to convert him to his religion in the manipulation of the love she has for him. Cid still only wishes for some space at the moment. The princesses of this world seem clingy. As the two finally reach the land of Lindworm and wander around the streets, Rose tells him that the legend says this is the place where Oliver cut the left arm of the demon Diablos, and this is the land where Diablos was sealed away. Rose is excited to see her favorite author Natsume signing her books in town, and wants to go get one signed too. Cid looks at the books of this popular author and finds evident plagiarism, as the books are named after popular stories of his previous world. Made-up names of Cinderella, Dragon Ball Z, One Piece, and whatnot. Cid also gets into line to see if there is someone else who has been reincarnated from his world, only to be extremely disappointed upon seeing Beta sitting there as author Natsume. Rose and Cid sit in a cafe as she shows him her personalized autograph. Upon opening his, both are surprised to find something written in ancient letters. Rose tries to read it till it clicks to Cid that this must be some message from Shadow Garden, so he says that she must have written it because it is cool. Alpha walks up to a building questioning why this hero, Oliver, chose to hide the place they refer to as the Sanctuary. She then addresses the dead body of Drake, wondering who killed him, as she would have loved to get some answers from him. Cid observes the land from a high building, excited to see the chaos unfold under his eyes. He later jumps down an alley, dodging the attack of a stranger. He is then cut down by 3 sword strikes at once, which is something that is expected of Epsilon, the Precise.